Alright guys, so we're in the July final week, final event to be selected in the Red Bull Wololo Legacy Tournament main event. We're here in the round of 16 I believe, with DivineDFP on English in the blue trunks up against ZertoN in the red trunks on English. So it's going to be a hell of a match guys. We're here to match point. ZertoN up 2-0, winning the French and the Delhi mirror. Now we've got an English mirror coming our way. Due to the increased walk distance to get to the woodline, DFP abstaining from the initial farm. After the market, probably going to want to, after the mill, sorry, probably going to want to get wheelbarrow first and then worry about adding the farms. So ZertoN for the minute. There's 7 villagers on the food. DFP playing a lot closer to the, I guess the standard sort of build order that Beastie would encourage. Well, ZertoN hasn't actually bothered gathering any wood as of yet. And DivineDFP, yeah, slightly faster on the gold gathering. And just now going to start his wood eco. ZertoN's doing something radical and playing English, how people play most of the other civs. DFP early. Mill being used for wheelbarrow now, and he can start going for the farms as soon as he pleases. He only needs 37 wood apiece for those. And also going to start working towards his mill and farm eco, but a little bit slower. Bearing in mind he's going to have the resources to age up. He's probably going to go for second town centre first before he even worries about the mill. So he's going to go for the stone. He's got 2 vills on the council hall. DFP. His wheelbarrow halfway done. What's this one called? The pit or basin? Is this the pit? That's going to be interesting. Won't be easy controlling all 3 sacreds, but at the same time, if you shove early, you might be able to. And that came to bite DFP last game. Here we go, he's transitioning to his farm eco. Well, it looks like ZertoN is happy to just keep working towards his second TC. He's going for more stone gatherers. And DFP in the meanwhile will be scouting this out. So he hasn't actually really done much of a thorough scout of ZertoN's base just yet. He's mostly been just macro scouting off the single scout. ZertoN in the meanwhile mostly been doing the same really. Because there's not a huge amount of sheep on this map. It's a pretty small map, and it's not like Frisian Marshes where there's stacks of easy sheep. There's a couple. But man, Frisian Marshes is a great map for, English without mill, or the French or HRE, or Mongol without pasture play. Let's go for those really tight, aggressive early build orders. Abbey of Kings here for DFP, actually interesting one. Heals 6 units every 1 second. ZertoN Council Hall nearly finished up. A sheep for both of our players, 5v7 there. It's a pretty chill early game here, because the players going to be second TC versus an Abbey build. So there's not going to be a lot of bow production or anything fancy here for DFP. ZertoN will have seen that's the choice for him. DFP, in the meanwhile, no military production as of yet. He's just gathering a bit. Might even be looking to go for a quick castle age, perhaps, because if he can get that, he gets second TC anyway. But because ZertoN's open like this, if he goes to castle behind this, he also gets another TC and goes up to 3. That's the beauty of the English mirror, I guess. ZertoN a little slower on the farm transition. Second TC going to kick in very early for him. So in game 1 in the French mirror, he actually played 1 TC into 2 and managed to keep DFP from amassing a greater Vil count. So let's see if DFP can return serve, do the same this game, playing a TC down, if he'll be able to get inside his opponent's base and his head and really start mowing down that economy. So text-wise, haven't really got anything for ZertoN. DFP so far has abstained from any text except for wheelbarrow. Abby is, I suppose, a beauty because it lets him get regen, so he can go for early horsemen, get a bit of value trying to pick off ZertoN's villagers on the gold mine, and try and prevent him from skipping, going up to multiple mill by multiple mill farm eco by, you know, getting on the berries or the hunts. And in the meanwhile, anything that gets low, he can just always bring home and heal up. So AoEIV Kings, 6 health per second, quite a solid out of combat heal. ZertoN doubling up on his food eco now because he's got that double TC Vil production. So DFP 27 and 1 to 31 and 1 for ZertoN. So DFP is beelining Castle Age. So he is actually going to have night production actually over ZertoN by the time he starts any production. He's not bothering to get any horsemen for the minute. He's just readying up his stables to go for instant knights. He's going to get that age up very shortly. Well, ZertoN, I'm going to play age 2 eco and army for now. I suppose DFP is just going to have to try and restrict ZertoN from getting to castle, and he can really choke him out in a very similar fashion to how the game 1 went. And meanwhile, I guess English is a beauty for trying to just mass up eco and boom through your opponent's pressure, because really it's quite a easy map to wall off, which ZertoN's going to do right now. And you got extra strength TCs that also extra strength villages, and you know, everything's just inside TC range with these 2 farms. So it's really easy for ZertoN to sort of turtle through early aggression, even with mass knights, which I think we're going to see here from DFP with his King's Palace and an awful lot of villages over here. He's probably going to have to go up to second mill farm production eco here though, because there's nothing in the bank for DFP at the moment. So he's got the 4 stables, well 3 of them, but only 2 of them are actually active at the moment. So he's really rushing out these early knights, but it looks like ZertoN's going to be able to get enough of the walls down that they're not going to be able to get inside. DFP could have actually prevented the wall off from being easy there, but I would quite get there. ZertoN's not even worrying about finishing this piece. Rather get more gathering out at this point and get the eco that he needs to get upgraded spears and try and hold off the initial knight aggression from DFP, which is coming hard and fast out of the, well, 2 to 3 of the 4 stables for the moment, but it won't be long before DFP is able to afford the 4 knight production that he's really looking to go for here. He just needs to get a little bit more in the way of food and a little bit more wood first so he can actually get the farms. Meanwhile, ZertoN's going to be able to get King's Palace and get some spears, parking some on top of his farms in case there is anywhere he's forgotten about walling and they breach. Plus on top of that, he can sort of keep them hidden for the sec. Briefly housed there, I think. Oh no, DFP was. DFP's eco looking pretty solid behind this because he does have the 2 TCs now. ZertoN about to add his 3rd one. So there's no time for a monastery or any of that silliness at the moment. But DFP, got to be careful with how he engages here because the TC is perfectly placed by ZertoN to just harass that wall. Like, this is just great for him. But the Knight's going to charge and kill the villagers through the wall there. So that's nice for DFP. Something going his way. Meanwhile, I don't think DFP is worried about any eco or army text for the minute. Just trying to charge down the gates. Enemy at the gates. Well, we've got 3rd barracks here for ZertoN. He's just going to mass up spears for the minute. Just preventing any form of stables harass. Because, I mean, if you just mass up ranges and go for your crossbows or the arbs, your opponent just transitions from mass knights to knight horsemen or mass horsemen. And they'll just, yeah, take the same engagement. And now, you know, you can't make another range unit to deal with it. So range going to be added now by DFP, and by going Abbey, he's sort of going to have to rely on coming back and healing, getting value out of this. Bearing in mind, Council Hall for ZertoN, yet he's yet to make any longbows for the minute. So he's going to try and repair the gate through this, but may not be able to. He is able to repair the gate through it, and now DFP having to back off for the moment. DFP walling himself in just to prevent any form of run by with a handful of the spears. So he's added a blacksmith in the meanwhile. We haven't got any more in the way. Buildings added to DFP's base for the minute. He's just cramming out units for the minute, looking to transition towards those English longbows. So we've got a monastery here for ZertoN. No monastery just yet, but a 2nd range on the way for DFP. It's be handy because if you can get 2 ranges out and start that bow production, sort of shock ZertoN. And take a nice fight against the spears. Individual bow being picked off like that is also going to be a bit of a tell for ZertoN that he needs to start either knight or bow production now. So a 3rd range now for DFP. But bearing in mind ZertoN has Council Hall, so this actually produces longbows at double speed. So he's already offset 2 of the ranges. Really, the only thing DFP's got over him is that one last range. DFP actually dropping a villager there to the wolf, so the pressure is on here. And ZertoN's actually looking to wall in one of the sacred sites, while DFP looking to do the same. The 3rd sacred, not really under anyone's control at the moment. First monk for ZertoN about to be out. So spear v mostly knight with some longbows in to support the spears. Can actually trade quite well into the knights, but the longbows are going to thin out their count slowly. So now DFP going to be able to get a bit of value out of this and turn things around, picking off the last couple of spears there. ZertoN towering up, getting network of castles boost. Well, the scout's actually able to prevent this wall off here, and ZertoN can even tower in the middle of the proposed wall. So a relic going to be under ZertoN's control soon, while DFP not yet transitioning to a monastery. this handful of knights will actually be able to sack this tower pretty quickly and pick off this worker. I think ZertoN actually cancelled that. Man. That's like some high-level StarCraft Terran shit. Actually, I wonder why that is. So DFP steaming forward. He wants to try and tear down this wall. Mr. ZertoN, tear down this wall. So I've got a blacksmith now for DFP, but ZertoN's already taken all of his ranged damage and armor upgrades for age 2, getting his ranged damage for age 3, so he's actually going to have a slight lead over DFP in that regard. Bow count, I think, does favour DFP at the moment, so he can overwhelm ZertoN's Bowman Ball. He can really take a strong lead here because there's not a huge amount of knights in this front line, and there are man-at-arms in the mix. While they can take more longbow shots, they don't actually fight so well against the knights, and they still need spears aside them to really tank the fight. So DFP now looking to grab control of, there was a relic there, but now he's realizing he's just going to be able to get the sacred. Well, he might be able to get the second sacred. This third one over here, a little bit more difficult for him to get a hold of at the moment. ZertoN's going to have the relic advantage. He's grabbed the 2 at the moment, and I think he's got a third on the way home, but there are 2 still here for DFP to grab at home. It's just that I think he'd rather try and grab the sacreds for the minute. But DFP in a nice spot right now. Okay, this scouting tower, a 4. The beauty of having towers everywhere, even if you do lose the odd one like that, they just give you that nice buff should you ever have to fight underneath them. ZertoN's going to attempt to try and finish this wall off, but his villagers are going to find that they're going to have to get the fuck out of there. So DFP is an impressive force with a lot of knights and bows, and now he's added a couple of crossbows into the mix. Sneaky bugger. ZertoN a force mostly of spears, man-at-arms, and longbows at the moment. So mostly relying on being able to kill that back line and then get the knights. Central keep here for ZertoN, or DFP. Yeah, managed to grab his relics. He's gonna. Oh, he's grabbing one of them now. DFP gonna start catching up in that passive gold gen quite quickly now. Longbows of ZertoN focusing down longbows, while longbows of DFP trying to take down mixed infantry, and while they are getting spears, they are also attacking man-at-arms in the midst of this, which does not tend so well for the longbows, while attacking spears, not so good for the crossbows. It's always the peril of trying to fight mixed infantry English with your ranged. Whereas with the comp ZertoN's got, it's very easy just to tap the longbows over the top and just make sure you're not overextending with your front line of the spears. Now this central keep, ZertoN's up in the ante. He's going to force DFP to have to start get siege and push with that in the center of the map here. He's going to take out the outpost with the villagers quickly as well. Looks like the third sacred site under control. DFP, the central one. Just sending a knight to clear out the villager, trying to get the outpost finished. So DFP keeping the army safe for now. The knights all healing up the abbey, so he's really getting a lot of value out of this going into the later mid game here. And spears attacking a tower is not the best for ZertoN because the archer's going to get 3 or 4 kills there. So DFP, nice little pick off there for him. Meanwhile, getting a couple more upgrades, so he's got the castle age ranged armor now, and he's also got nearly castle age on the way. So his knight's going to be able to fend off the spears. His own bow's going to be able to take a few extra bowman shots from ZertoN. So DFP is really streaming forward right now, and he's going to be able to start pressuring ZertoN's walls once again over on this top side of the map. Well, he does have the treb. He's going to grab a second one and start pressuring that keep as well. ZertoN's control of the sacred side over the top side, not to last. The central sacred going to be under control. Oh, not for long though. The keep can just reach. The DFP fast on the siege, control the mid map, so it's going to be solid for him. ZertoN having to get a keep, a treb out of the keep, as well as maybe even look at adding his own siege workshop, considering he's already down on the trebuchet count. So by the time he gets that one out, there'll be a third one for DFP right now. DFP with control. One sacred site as well as the... He got the 2. He got the 1 relic. And I think he's bringing back a second now. He should have been bringing back a second. ZertoN's up to 3 relics, but there was a 4th here for DFP to grab. I don't know what he's done with it. He's got 1 relic over here. Oh, here we go. Here it is. He's finally grabbing that last relic. He's taken down the castle here of ZertoN's. And this ZertoN upgrade-wise, he's looking really solid. He's got all his castle upgrades, while DFP is still just waiting on his melee armor castle age. ZertoN's also taken the building train speed upgrade from here, and his Imperial Age. So DFP 101 and 87, ZertoN 134 and 65. So his eco is just really blossoming through this. That third TC just really giving him the big eco he needs in the late game here. So the trebs for DFP are really going to start threatening a lot of ZertoN's base very soon, and he's going to catch up in tech very quickly, while ZertoN can't quite yet afford to get all of the Imperial upgrades because he's a little gold starved at the moment. Other resources looking quite solid. So DFP streaming forward with everything he's got at the moment. And he is also maxed out now. DFP still has that treb count advantage over ZertoN, and he has taken out the monastery, so there is the 3 relics in there of ZertoN's that have now been taken out of action. The knights really finding a way to get onto the bows, while DFP's bows are fighting against ZertoN's bows. Crossbows are going to get picked off here too. DFP, it's been a little bit messy, his engagement here in ZertoN's base. He is trying to make it work though. He's bringing more vills forward, so now ZertoN under a lot of pressure. All these farms have been abandoned for the minute. And DFP 170 pop, ZertoN's still at 188, but he's got 30 villagers idle at the moment. He's got a lot of them actually working on this town center. Oh, all of ZertoN's villagers back to work. DFP streaming forward with everything he's got, but he's losing the keep. He's going to try an outpost this time. And even with 3 Treb v2. ZertoN's just got so many vills here to repair, and he still seems to somehow be able to hold off DFP. Not really bothering to attack from anywhere. ZertoN really walled himself in, and so is DFP. But his push here is really starting to thin. ZertoN's still at 160 pop. DFP now down to that as well. The TC still adamant, defiant, resilient, tenacious. There's just nothing stopping it except one more volley of the Trebs. So ZertoN's landmark TC goes down. This will be a sigh of relief for DFP. He's getting a bit of value now out of this push, and ZertoN forced to have to get a lot of eco back to work outside of his base. He hasn't actually got a wall here, so it's a little bit risky for him to stream his villagers around there. DFP's going to have a bit of a tell seeing them all go past like that. DFP down to under 140 pop. ZertoN at 180 at the moment, so he's still at 123 eco pop through all this. DFP at 93. ZertoN actually replacing villagers through this. It's one thing people sometimes struggle with behind such an aggressive phase of play, is actually maintaining an eco through it all after you've pulled so many vills. When you start losing them and you need to make sure you can gather through it all again. There's 3 relics of ZertoN's under control now, but he's not actually got a hold of them. He's going to need to replace that with a monastery soon. But DFP has been shoved outside of ZertoN's base now, and is under 110 pop for the second. ZertoN still close to 190. Some villagers idle there for the moment. A bit of threat by ZertoN, but he is just going to worry about the mining camp. You take that mining camp out, buddy. DFP behind this, still not able to take Imperial Age. He's adding another town center. For whatever the fuck knows reason, I suppose because he wants to try and close this 40 Vil gap that sits between them, because even though he's had this impressive army, wasn't quite enough to shove into ZertoN's base. He's just adding so much production in front of the TC just to make sure he's not going to lose it, and he can start adding, I guess, hand cannoneers once he starts getting a bit more gold. The Trebs creeping forward for ZertoN. DFP under 120 pop. And most of that is in his eco. So ZertoN finally able to clean up his relics, get control of them once again. And he's going to take back that central sacred site. So DFP, perhaps he would have been better off turtling and taking the sacred sites from there, because the push into ZertoN really not paying off for him. And now ZertoN is able to take out the Mangonel, and DFP taps out. GG. ZertoN takes the series 3-0.